This is the content that we are going to be covering on this video. We're going to show how to access your Raspberry Pi remotely using Cloudflare channels. We're going to go and show you how to do the configuration without giving too many details, because we do have a whole playlist with all the steps included here. So it is supposed to be right into the point. These are the 5 topics that we are going to cover. Deploying the tunnel as a service for our Raspberry Pi and exposing Node.js application. In our case, we're going to use one very common Node.js engine, which is Node-RED. We're going to show also how to access remotely over an SSH session, and also how to protect the access to this application. And lastly, we will show also how to roll out the tunnel, not as a service, but as a container running on your Raspberry Pi. So let's get to it. So as usual, we will open the Cloudflare console. On this account, we have 2 top-level domains that we are managing from here. We include here for free. We created the domains for free. I leave you a link here. We access the Zero Trust console, which is a place where you manage all your the tunnels or the applications that are connected to these tunnels. So we click here on tunnels, and these are the 2 tunnels that we have used in previous videos. We're gonna create a new tunnel, but first let me open a session to my Raspberry Pi, which is running in my home lab. So let me put a password here, and as you can see, I'm running my my Pi on 192.168.151. So this is the local, the private IP for this host. So we click here on create channel. Let's give it a name, a descriptive one. Raspberry Pi would be the name of the tunnel. So as I told you, we can choose between 2 different deployments, Docker and service. We will leave Docker for the end of the video. So now we're deploying it as a service. When you install this service on a Raspberry, you need to know which is the architecture of the OS that you have on your Pi. So for this, we just make sure that we are, in my case, we are using ARM 64 bits, which is the version of the OS that I am running. I just click here and copy. I will paste it, and you will see that it is gonna install it right away. So essentially, you just have to copy the command that is shown on Cloudflare. So we have created the service, which is already running, as you can see here. So let's check on the console that the tunnel is running. You can see it here, disconnected, and this is the ID of the tunnel. So we click on next, and we enter the data which is going to be specific to the host that can be accessed. I have to choose a subdomain. This is going to be a CNAME that is going to be automatically added to the Cloudflare DNS system. The name of the domain is going to be r-pi. The domain is the main domain. The service is going to be HTTP, and I'm going to declare here an egress route, which is going to route all the traffic to the application that I'm going to be exposing right after. So I use here localhost 127.0.0.1 on port 1880, and this is the port that is going to be exposed on the application that I'm gonna run. Now we click Save, and well, essentially the tunnel has been created. So what you will see is that, well, first of all, the channel is active, as you can see here. It is pointing to this host. If we go to the main console of Cloudflare, we click here on DNS, you will see that the domain that we have chosen before, this one here, has been automatically created on this account. It is pointing to the tunnel. This is the ID of the tunnel. And from this moment, all the traffic that is hitting this domain name is going to be routed to my Raspberry Pi. Well, the first thing let's first make sure that the service is running. To make sure that the service is running, let's list the services that are installed on my Raspberry Pi at the moment. So this is type service. So as you can see here, we have this service called Cloudflare D, which is active and running, which essentially means that it is listening on any call that is done by Cloudflare. So let's make sure this is really the case. And now we will first roll out the Node application. As I told you before, this is a very classic tool used these days, which is Node-RED. I'm gonna run it as a container. My engine is Podman, but for the rest, it is exactly as a Docker. So Docker run -d -p. I expose the port 1880, which is the one that I have been also declaring on the tunnel, and the container is creating. It is running. Let's make sure. Yeah, here it is. So now if I open a browser window and I point to my local IP address, the one on my Raspberry Pi, which is 51 on port 1880, I will get access to the Node-RED editor. Just let me this one here. Let me just for the sake of the demo, let me add a comment here. This is running on the Raspberry Pi. And now if I try to access my server from the outside world, pointing to this domain, which has been just created, I should be able to see the Raspberry Pi, the Node-RED, instance running on my Raspberry Pi. So yes, as you can see here, it is loading. You can see the connection is also secure with a valid certificate. All is done automatically and for free by Cloudflare. The certificate is valid, as you can see. Okay, so well, let me deploy this node just to show you that I am indeed accessing my Raspberry Pi, because I was not I forgot to hit deploy before. So let's reload, and yeah, see it here. Now, what we are gonna do is I'm gonna show you how can you stop the tunnel in case that you don't want it to be running all the time. So for that, this is just as stopping any other service running on the Pi. For that, you just need to enter this command, which is ctl systemctl yeah. Let me just to make sure that I am not mixing the name. The name of the service is Cloudflare d.service. So to stop is systemctl stop Cloudflare d.service. If I hit enter and I enter my password, you will see that the system is not running. You see here it's gone. And now, just to make sure everything's working, if I refresh the page and I try to enter the Pi from the outside, you see that there is an error returned by Cloudflare saying that essentially the tunnel is not available. Again, if you get back to the local address to access the service, let me deploy a new node. Let's start the tunnel again. This time I hit deploy, and now let me restart the service so that you can see that I will get access to the to my instance of Node-RED running on the Raspberry Pi. Systemctl start Cloudflare d.service. Hit enter the password, and it's running. Just make sure. Here it is. Okay. So if I go back now and try to access again from the outside, I refresh the page, and you will see that it is indeed running, and the module that I just installed is there. Okay, so now that I've shown the Node.js application on how to deploy a tunnel, one of the classic things that you are doing with your Pi is, if you're running it on headless mode, is accessing using an SSH session, as I'm doing here. So instead of accessing the SSH session from within the local network, I'm going to show you how can you define a way to get remote access over SSH. So for that, first thing that we will do is, getting back to the tunnel, I am going to edit a new ingress rule. I'm going to well, essentially change this this one that we created, or no, let's create a new rule. So for that, we follow the same process. So this time I'm going to call it SSH, the domain, SSH Pi. The domain is going to be the same. And now in the service here, I'm going to put SSH. I have to declare a local IP address. So this is going to be running on localhost. It is pointing to the tunnel, which is running on localhost. And the port in which I'm listening is port 22. So now you see here that a new host has been created, a new ingress rule, which also has created a new public host name. So one of the things that you have to make sure you do before completing this is that here when you see proxy type, what we are going to be doing is accessing through a proxy created by Cloudflare. So on these conditions, here you need to declare which is going to be the kind of proxy that you want Cloudflare to create for you. We just hit it, leave it as a blank one because I don't want any special thing. And you will see here this proxy type is going to go to 1. This is a regular proxy. So next thing, well, let's make sure that the host name has been created automatically. We hit refresh and you see here, this is the host name that we are going to be using to access the SSH service on MyPy. Now, if I try to access, you will see that it is not going to be working. So if we repeat exactly the same process as before, you will see that this is not loading, even though we're using the right domain. And the reason is because for this to work, you first need to create what it is called an application. So if you hit here where it says application, you need to add an application. You have to say this is going to be a self-hosted application. And you give it a name. This is going to be for how long do you want to remain the session. And we have to declare which is the domain that is going to be using this application. This has to be the same as the one we have created just before. So here you can choose the way in which you are going to be authenticating the access here. So I have a separate video. I leave you a card here in which I show how to federate different identity providers. But on this one, I'm just going to go for the more simple way of doing this. Now, the next thing I have to declare this policy. The policy is essentially the control that is going to be taken by Cloudflare before it allows you to access your application. In my case, I'm saying an email, and I'm adding my email address. As you see here, okay. And we hit next. And then the last step that you need to take is if you go down here, you will see that you want to render an SSH client on the browser. Okay, so essentially what you're doing is you're going to be accessing using an SSH client, which is going to be rendered for you on the browser whenever you access the domain. But before rendering this access, as you see here is a browser SSH. Look what is going to happen. So if I try to access the same domain as before, look what happens. It is going to ask you to enter an email address. This is the email address that you declared just before in the policy. To this email address, Cloudflare is going to be sending to you an access code, which is, in this case, is going to be a number, but there are many other ways that you can deploy this control. So let me get access to my email account and get the access code. Sign in. And here's my access code, this number here. So I have to enter this number here. And this is essentially what it is needed for you to get the SSH client render in the browser. Now I just hit put the username and the password, and from this moment you will see that we have an SSH session over a web browser, access from the internet to your Raspberry Pi. So you can see here that the ls command is returning the exact same things as if I were using the SSH session that I opened from within my local network. Okay. Now, the next thing that I'm going to show is how to open an SSH session, but instead of rendering it from a browser, there are people that might be willing to get SSH access from the terminal. This is also something that you can do. I'm going to show you how. The first thing that we are going to be doing is changing the method to get SSH access. So we click Save, and as you can see here, there is no more this SSH browser message here. Now it is just self-hosted. If you open, well, the next thing that you have to do is to adjust the policy. So to adjust the policy, you go to the application. Here it says self-hosted. You need to click here on Edit. On the policies, you need to edit. And we don't want Cloudflare to deploy any controls, so we hit on the action, we hit bypass. We save. Oh, yeah, we need to remove the rules. The rule is going to be essentially everyone can access. So the idea behind this is that the way you will be controlling who is accessing your SSH server running on the Pi is going to be by using SSH keys. Essentially, same as you would do when you access from the local network. So again, let me try to open a console and try to access remotely, pointing to my external domain. You will see that now there is no way Cloudflare is controlling the access. Again, you can do the same exact control that we have shown before, but I don't want to extend too much on this. I have already left you a link to another video in which I explain this in big detail. So here you can see that it is possible to access from the terminal without rendering a browser. So the last part of the video is going to be showing you a different way of deploying the tunnel. So far we have the tunnel running as a service. If I stop the service, as I did before, I enter the password, hit enter, and now the service is stopped. We can see here on the tunnels that the tunnel is gone from active to inactive. Now let's create a new tunnel. This time the tunnel is going to be a Docker. This is not something, this is the command. This is not something that is documented on the Cloudflare webpage, essentially because there is no Docker build for the ARM architecture. But there is this repo that I'm gonna show you that essentially has compiled the Cloudflare tunnel to run on an ARM device, on any Raspberry Pi. So, well, first let me change Docker into Podman because this is the runtime that I'm using. And the name of the repo in which you will find the images is ghcr.io/Maggie 0002. Okay. So if I hit enter, you will see that the tunnel is going to be starting right away. And well, it is essentially a way for you to run different tunnels in parallel, pointing all of them to your Raspberry Pi. We can follow the same process as before. We can declare domains and all the ingress rules. I'm not going to repeat all that, but just in essence, you can see here that we do have a different tunnel. This time it's called Docker Pi. The idea of the tunnel is different. And you can essentially repeat the whole thing that you have seen before. So I think that's all that I wanted to share to you. I hope you liked the video. I did it by popular demand because there are many people who is using Raspberry Pis, not that many that are using Synologies, which is the content that I have been creating so far. So if you like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Talk to you. Bye.